Good morning. Welcome to this time of praise and this time of worship. My name is Don Drellinger. I am serving the people of Halle and Zion United Methodist Churches here in the Chippewa Valley. Today we continue our devotional series that we're calling An Amazing May. To grow in our ability to be amazing, we need to grow in our relationship with God. Before we jump into our study, a couple of brief announcements. First, our churches have set a date for opening the church building for Sunday morning worship. We hope to safely open on Sunday, June 7th. This is our plan at this time, but the date will be later if needs to be. Secondly, please continue to give generously to mission ministries. Many people in our area, our community, the state, nation, and the world for that matter, really are hurting at this time. And this is a moment in time when we need to reach out and help one another. Locally, our churches will be supporting mobile meals, the free open door clinic, the Salvation Army, and the community closet. So once again, where you can, please be generous in your mission giving. For our opening, I'm going to use the 145th Psalm for a word of prayer. The Lord is gracious and merciful, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love. The Lord is good to all. His compassion is over all his creation. All your work shall give thanks to you, O Lord, and your faithful ones shall bless you. They shall speak of the glory of your kingdom and tell of your power, to make known to all people your mighty deeds and the glorious splendor of your kingdom. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and your dominion endures throughout all generations. Amen. We have considered an amazing love, an amazing discipline. Today we consider an amazing faith. In a book by James Moore, he picked the story of Daniel in the lion's den to illustrate for us this theme of faith. And using that word faith, in part, I mean our faith, our trust in God. And in another part, I'm referring to the amazing faithfulness of our God. I want to set up the context of the story a bit. Daniel and the Jewish people are captives of a foreign nation, a people who believe in many gods, the gods of bronze and wood and silver and gold, the gods of wealth and power. Over time, Daniel has risen in position. He is a natural leader, he is wise, and he is also humble. The king of that area, King Darius, uses Daniel. He actually likes Daniel. The other leaders for the king dislike him. They are envious of Daniel, and they trick the king into punishing Daniel. Daniel is able to overcome a very difficult problem, and with faith in God, trusting God's grace, Daniel turned a problem into an opportunity, and hopefully we can do that in our lives as well. So we're going to go to the Bible, picking up at Daniel 6, beginning with verse 13. Hear these words. Then they said to the king, Daniel, who was one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the decree you put in writing. He still prays 3 times a day. When the king heard this, he was greatly distressed. He was determined to rescue Daniel and made every effort until sundown to save him. Then the men went up as a group to the king and said to him, Remember, O king, that according to the law of Medes and Persians, no decree or edict that the king issues can be changed. And so the king gave the order, and they brought Daniel and threw him into the lion's den. The king said to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, rescue you." A stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the rings of his nobles, so that Daniel's situation might not be changed. Then the king returned to his palace and spent the night without eating and without any entertainment being brought to him, and he could not sleep. At the first light of the dawn, the king got up and hurried to the lion's den. When he came near the den, he called to Daniel in an anguished voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answered, "O king, live forever. My God sent his angel, and he shut the mouths of the lions. They have not hurt me, because I was found innocent in his sight, nor have I ever done any wrong before you, O king." The king was overjoyed and gave orders to lift Daniel out of the den. And when Daniel was lifted from the den, no wound was found on him, because he had trusted in his God. How might you and I show a strong faith? How might we remain faith-filled towards God's ways in the face of great challenge? How do we claim faith and move forward? John Maxwell once said, "A good leader knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way." Three things that Daniel did. Daniel had the spiritual strength to know the way. For Daniel, he knew he must keep praying to God, even when his community was saying something very different. He certainly did not pray to King Darius, and he did not give up his prayers, his time spent with God. So often, we spend so little time with God, and then something bad happens, and we wonder, where is God? Daniel's time with God, that was important. Daniel sought out God's ways. He knew God's commandments. He took them seriously. Daniel had a trust and a knowledge that God would be with him, and God was, and God did see him through. How about you in your life? Do you know the way? In other words, do you know the way to move forward in life? Well, does that way include God? Does that way include considering God's plans, God's ways? And does that way include prayer and time with God? Daniel had a spiritual strength to know the way. Secondly, Daniel had the spiritual strength to go the way. Knowing the way and going the way, two very different things. Knowing what to do and doing it, two very different things, aren't they? Trusting God, striving to do what is right. Daniel met great difficulty, yet he did not give in. He moved forward. He had the spiritual strength to go the way. Ted Engstrom wrote the following, and it gives me a renewed sense of strength each time I read it. It's a list of people who face difficulty, and by the grace of God, they moved forward. Listen. Cripple him. and you have Sir Walter Scott. Lock him in a prison cell, and you have John McCain. Bury him in the snows of Valley Forge, and you have a George Washington. Raise him in poverty, and you have an Abraham Lincoln. Strike him down with childhood paralysis, and he becomes Franklin D. Roosevelt. Have him or her born black in a society filled with racial discrimination, and you have Booker T. Washington, George Washington Carver, or a Martin Luther King Jr. Call him a slow learner. Write him off as not teachable, and you have Albert Einstein. Challenge him with a rare form of muscular dystrophy, and you have a poet and a peacemaker, Maddie Stepanek, who wrote 6 best-selling books before he died at the age of 13. Deffen, a genius composer, and you have Ludwig van Beethoven. Knowing what to do is important, and yet doing it makes all the difference. Don't let obstacles and challenges keep you from doing what you know is right. Daniel continued praying and spending time with God. This morning, let me strongly encourage you to do the same. For an amazing faith, know the way, go the way, and finally, show the way. And Daniel certainly did that. Because of his faith, many people were drawn to considering and following the one true God. Edgar Guest wrote this great truth in one of his poems. I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day. I'd rather one should walk with me than merely point the way. In our Bible story, even King Darius came closer to believing and trusting in the God that Daniel worshiped. In verse 26, King Darius said, "For he is the living God, enduring forever. His kingdom shall never be destroyed, and his dominion will have no end." Now, you may not have to deal with a den of lions, but your life will hold those times and those moments of fear and difficulty. Remember Daniel. Claim your trust and your faith in God, and you will know an amazing May. You will know an amazing life. May the Lord bless and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you, and may the Lord be gracious unto you. Keep shining brightly. Have a great week. See you later.